the hard evidence for the assertion that the police are engaging in systemic racism, of course, is ever elusive. That's why they just use emotion. That's not the number one problem facing the black community. Inequality is not the number one problem facing the black community. The number one problem facing the black community is a large number of kids who are raised without fathers. Far, far, far and away the number one problem. It's also a huge problem within the white community. 25% of white kids are now born outside of wedlock, a number that was the percentage of black kids born outside of wedlock back in 1965 that sparked that booklet called The Negro Family, A Case for National Action, written by Daniel Patrick Moynihan, a left-wing Democrat who said that number was horrific. We need to do something about it. Otherwise, it could cause a great deal of all sorts of negative social unintended consequences. Well, it has. Now the number is 70%. And the number of whites now matches the number that prompted that alarmist booklet called The Negro Family, A Case for National Action. How come there's not a book called The White Family, A Case for National Action? 50% of Hispanic kids are born outside of wedlock, which is why Heather McDonald wrote the piece called Hispanic Family Values in 2006. Here's some other quotes from it. Quote, "The rate of childbirth for Mexican teenagers, who come from by far the largest and fastest growing immigrant population, greatly outstrips every other group. The Mexican teen birth rate is 93 births for every 1,000 girls, compared with 27 births for every 1,000 white girls, 17 for every 1,000 Asian girls, 65 for every 1,000 black girls. To put these numbers into international perspective," she writes, "Japan's teen birth rate is 3.9, Italy's is 6.9, France's is 10. Even though the outside U.S. teen birth rate is dropping, it continues to inflict unnecessary costs to the country, to which Hispanics contribute disproportionately." End of quote. She also wrote this about the fathers. Quote, "The fathers of these illegitimate children are often problematic in even more troubling ways. Social workers report that the impregnators of younger Hispanic women are with some regularity their uncles, not necessarily seen as a bad thing by the mother's family. Alternatively, the father may be the boyfriend of the girl's mother, who then continues to stay with the grandmother. Older men seek out young girls in the belief that a virgin cannot get pregnant during her first intercourse and to avoid sexually transmitted diseases." End of quote. And finally, she talks about the benefits that many people are getting. Quote, "Hispanics now dominate the federal Women, Infants, and Children Free Food Program. Hispanic enrollment grew over 25% from 1996 to 2002, while black enrollment dropped 12% and white enrollment dropped 6.5%. Illegal immigrants can get women, infant, and children and other welfare programs for their American-born children. If Congress follows George W. Bush's urging," again, this was written in 2006, "if Congress follows George W. Bush's urging and grants amnesty to most of the 11 million illegal aliens in the country today, expect the welfare rolls to skyrocket as parents themselves become eligible." End of quote. Now, this again was written in 2006, and there is a study by some professors at Yale that put the number of illegal aliens not at 11 million, which is a common number that's quoted, but at closer to 20 or 25 million. Now, she writes in 2006 about the impact of 11 million illegal aliens suddenly becoming legal and therefore eligible to all sorts of benefits. What about the impact of between 20 and 25 million illegal aliens, which is probably the far more likely number? Wow.